Tempo Storm making North America pretty proud as they get a victory in game number 2, and that means our series is all tied up and we're getting ready for game 3. What does each team have to do here to earn the victory? I want you to talk about North America and then of course to talk about Europe here, so let's go ahead.
Tempo Storm needs to stay this course of riding on Vin's shoulders. He was able to make huge plays at the beginning and looked a little dire, but he finds his E-key at critical moments and turn things around. Players like Glaurung, they feed on momentum. They feed on this. So that if they can pull that off and keep that momentum going, we could see Method in a lower bracket.
Maybe. Europe?
I think I like the idea of going into Zeratul this time on ADRD side to just also expand a bit on the idea that you can't ban him out, and I feel like their approach to snipe targets was pretty successful, but I would like them to just go back into a more ADRD style for now. I was fine with the last game. There were just 1-2 team fights where they didn't coordinate perfectly, where it was rough for them. The engages into Tempo Storm were always tricky, but they handled it pretty well, I feel. At the end, they lose, Tempo Storm plays well and takes it. But I think this is definitely something we're going to see more from ADRD, because that was actually pretty successful there. But it comes down to the bans again. On the next Battleground, when we're seeing bans against the macro heroes again, maybe we're going to see again an attempt to snipe heroes on the map.
Well, luckily you brought up the Battleground. It's time to go to Battleground number 3. Volskaya Foundry has been picked by Tempo Storm. Method will stick with first pick after that loss.
And I'm still a bit surprised that we don't see Dragonshire as a choice on the side of Tempo Storm. This is now the 3rd map that they choose, and Dragonshire is their best Battleground. They have a 5-0 there. They might be a bit afraid because Method isn't looking too bad on Dragonshire either. They have a 4-1, but I still expected that one of those choices would be Dragonshire. Instead, they go to Volskaya. Method didn't look too hot there over the last phase. 1 win, 2 losses. But still a bit of a surprising choice, all things considered.
Sometimes it's not about the numbers. They feel very comfortable here. They went to MSB. They picked Volskaya a lot there, so we'll have to see if they're going to work out for them here against Method.
I agree, but I'm also with you, Caldor. I was for sure certain that we were going to see Dragonshire here if Tempo Storm had a Battleground to select. As far as keeping momentum going, why not go to your home court? They look almost flawless time and time again on that Battleground. That says to me they still might be more worried about Method than themselves.
There is one thing. Tempo Storm may feel like in game number 1 they didn't get the team fights that they wanted because they were playing against it after their composition. Game 2 they got a couple of team fights that did work out for them. Volskaya Foundry forces those fights. You have to come actually deal with them on the protector points. So Tempo Storm might be thinking, hey, we can take Method when it comes to team fights. Let's go to Volskaya.
I mean, we're talking about Volskaya, especially heading into the draft. We're going to talk about very similar heroes that we have already seen. Zone control. You're looking at Deckard Cain again. You can make your argument for Alex Straza. Hammer is another hero that you have to consider after the last map in particular, where we could see Tempo Storm with a very similar approach to what they just used on Towers of Doom. So Method is going to think about that and will adapt to what they just experienced.
Over League play, we've also seen Tempo Storm take some pretty interesting heroes on this Battleground. I'm wondering if they're feeling cheeky enough to bring out the 2-headed Cho'Gall. That would be a little ambitious here, in my opinion.
I mean, if you believe in it, you go for it, you know? It's a possibility. Method think a little bit longer here on their ban, though. They might be considering that Genji. He was a deciding factor in that last match.
Yeah. The last game was also, by the way, the first time in Phase 2 that Method lost with Greymane. They had a perfect track record up to that point. But here comes the adjustment right away. They're looking at this and they're saying, okay, why exactly do you pick Volskaya? And one of the reasons that immediately comes to mind is, again, that zone control. They're trying to control the space on turn point, so immediately we're going to see Hammer banned out, Tempo Storm. They still have the memories of game 1, and they're not going to make that mistake again of giving ADRD Abathur, so he's an immediate ban for them too. So that's kind of what we expected heading into it, so that sets the scene.
I'm actually really intrigued by this because, in my opinion, as far as draft selections go, this is the first time Method's really given true respect to their opponent. They've just been banning the meta. They've been trying to enable their own choices with some of their selections, like the Phoenix ban in the last go-round, but they are specifically keying in on the past success in terms of Sergeant Hammer and Diablo, but they left Genji out there. I guess they didn't think that was the key part of it.
There's all the options for them to control Genji too. I mean, Maiev is someone that when you're on land, she is a wonderful pickup, being able to get those tethers, of course, the vaults against important moments from your opponent. So they might believe, okay, if Genji does get picked up, we could definitely deal with it. It's just a matter of what draft they want to move into. And That's the question right now, as Method needs to decide what they want to pick up. Decker Kane could be a strong pickup on this battleground. You already alluded to it. Wouldn't mind seeing that in the first pick, too.
I'm also not quite sure if Genji was really the issue in the last game. He was certainly the one who could capitalize on the situations with flashy plays.
Yeah.
But the first fight was set up by a great jet propulsion that we saw from Glorong. That's something that Hammer capitalized on. Vin, of course, was immediately there. And then towards the end, we had a great fight. But I did never really feel that Genji was the one who caused the problem. He capitalized on the situation then quite well. But I think from a target perspective, going for Diablo here, for example, makes a lot more sense. Especially since we have this feeling from both players that Muradin and Diablo are just in a league of their own right now. So if you have the first pick situation and you already know that you're again prioritizing Muradin for Bad Benny, then you can deny Diablo this time, especially since Tempo chose to play Diablo in both of the previous games.
I like these choices a lot, though, for Tempo Storm. Garrosh, that's definitely something that Tempo Storm is more than capable of getting the maximum amount of value. But Bad Benny's Muradin, that was a huge part of almost every engagement. Not having a cleanse against Stormbolt in the hands of Bad Benny could be bad for your health, but I do like the Decker Kane with Reaper.
I like a lot what we're seeing now from both sides, because we are actually seeing things swap around a little bit. So with Muradin being picked on the first rotation, Urel was still open. And Tempo Storm hasn't really prioritized Urel in the previous games. And you know that if Zero has a chance to play Urel, he's going to play Urel.
Yeah.
And that Muradin-Urel setup that Method played in both of the two previous games was a huge problem for Tempo Storm. It was very, very disruptive in the way that it was executed. So now they take that away, but they still, through that, leave Deckard as an option for Method, and that's immediately what's picked. We talked about that zone call just before the draft started. Deckard already taken. You ban out Alex Straza. Those are the two heroes that they targeted in game number 1 in the bans even. So they're trying to make sure that all of those zone supports are not available on Tempo Storm right now.
I think that could come back to bite him, though. If Stukov gets picked up here by Tempo Storm, a taunt into the silence from Stukov, that should spell the end of almost any hero that we see so far. Muradin not being able to get that avatar, Deckard with no mobility whatsoever, but Tempo Storm continuing to play aggressive. They're looking for Maev.
Maev, Malfurion, Garrosh, Urel. The big potential for Tempo Storm is wonderful if Method is to overstep at any point. You get the engages that you want, especially if you're pulling them into that route. Oh, then you can fall up into a Twilight Dream. That is a deadly, deadly combo here for Tempo Storm. Looking over to Method, though, I'm wondering if they're going to go a little bit more Pope-oriented. You maybe want to pick up a Hanzo here. Even Chromie could be good to try and punish out Garrosh. Maybe play safe and back. The problem is that Maev definitely throws in a wrench to the plans of what they may have wanted to pick for the 4th and 5th. And they go more of a tanky route. They pick up Blaze and they pick up Thrall.
I was going to say, Method kind of needed Blaze here with so many viable options for an Umbral Bind, for Maev to yank someone out of position. You want that escape hatch in the form of the bunker. So I think that's a really smart decision. And they're going to further try to beef up their front line with the Thrall as a solid solo laner, or just shows up in the Crash Lightning, or however he wants to try to play this hero. I do like that choice, but I think it kind of plays into the hands of Tempo Storm.
The draft in general is just really interesting to me from Method's side. It's pretty atypical to what we normally see from ADRD, that he now played in game 2 Zeratul and now is immediately on Thrall here. Normally they try to put him on range damage quite often, and especially when teams attempt to ban his hero pool out, he normally finds himself either on Genji, on Junkrat, leaving at times. We talked about Hanzo. So there's a couple of heroes that I could definitely have seen for him, but they are very melee heavy. They're basically playing what we normally see on North American side even a bit more. Now, Europe has played a lot of triple melee too, but it's more so a key element of the NA drafts that we've seen through Phase 2.
Do you think these atypical choices means that Method is a little rattled right now?
No, not really. Like, it takes a lot to really play ADRD. Like, he believes in the draft that he has, and this is something where they weren't really pressured to get the 3rd melee. They just believe that with the setup they have, they can make that play. He's very, very calm and very meticulous about his draft. So it's very unlikely that you ever end up in a situation where you put ADRD into a position in the draft phase and it's like, oh my god, I don't know what to do.
Well, let's see which draft pays off and who will go on to tomorrow as we head over to our casters, Kala and Gillyweed.
Thank you guys so much. We do have a game 3 and I am so pumped. Are you ready, Kala?
I'm definitely ready. Super stoked. The first game 3 I've done at an event like this, so that's super exciting. And of course, with my good friend here in Gilly. I'm stoked.
We're ready.
I love the fact that Method have just another strong team fight style composition. On the side of Tempo Storm, you cannot ever discount Cattle. On that Garrosh, you got Yrel as well being played by Glaurung. So big playmaking potential from Tempo too. And of course, we got to be watching out for Fan on Maiev.
I think the drafting for both of these teams have been awesome, but I feel like this third game is the most adjustments made by both teams, and I'm very excited to see how it works out. Would you like to introduce Tempo Storm?
Tempo Storm, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it. We have Glaurung on that Yrel, Fan playing Maiev, Caterpillar on Garrosh, Vin on Hanzo, and June playing the Malfurion.
Vin said he used to watch Fan stream, and now it's surreal that he's playing Atalan with Fan. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but yes, we did it anyway. In the red, it's Method. With Nick playing Raynor, Aethero Angel on Blaze, Bad Binny on Muradin, Kirsten playing Deckard Cain, and ADRD on that Thrall.
Curious that Nisha's Memento is the talent choice for Fan at this level 1, just looking to get an additional wave clear / control over camps. See if that one ends up panning out. But aside from that, very standard level 1 picks. I mean, a little bit of a permutation here for Bad Benny on the Muradin. We've seen all builds now from Muradin.
It's also the first iteration we're seeing of Malfurion, or the new iteration of Malfurion. And we do have that new talent, Rejuvenation, which gives the extra health regeneration for each active regrowth. From what we had heard, Malfurion still can do the same of providing those great sustain heals for a team, but it's all about can he get dove upon, because there's no ice block left, and you get Nature Swiftness for the movement speed at level 13, but no ice block is a big deal.
Nice thing on this map in particular is the fact that Malfurion is able to satisfy that I'm not getting dove condition during the early game, because as we know, first objective spawning in that middle of the map, and both walls are completely up, so Malfurion can't really get dove under those circumstances. And honestly, a lot of the times that occurs top lane too. Usually you still at least have your forts, so it's tough to dive the Malf during the first 2 objectives. That's kind of why I think we're seeing him here over the other supports that were available.
It'll be interesting for me to see if we see later on in draft some of the NA teams go to pick back up Stukov, who it feels like for Europe is just fine to fill that sustained heal role in the same way. As well as if Method can use that Muradin, Blaze, the Thrall too. They have shown some amazing flanks throughout the series and as a way to get on top of June's Malfurion.
See if they can find it right now. Method are positioning onto the top side of the map, throwing out those potions. Kirsten just setting up in case Tempo Storm perhaps over-rotate to the bottom side. If they show multiple numbers there, a Method can look to race that support camp and pick up 2 items during the first stage of the game. As we know, folks, Volsky is all about controlling those items.
Yes, there is a deal on some items, and both teams want to take advantage of that sale, and both are looking at this top. You see a lot of potions being set up in case the fight does break out over this heal pulse, but pretty soon we're going to have the control point min, so we'll see if either team can actually pick that up or if they just want to make sure that nobody gets away with it for free.
Very true. Micro power spike kicking in here for Tempo Storm. That explosive arrow is level 4 for Hanzo. It allows him to actually clear waves, because prior to that level 4, it really can't do too much. Method with that setup, look what they're doing here.
I knew that Tempo would want to get their assault camp. Blau's going to get onto the point now. Rooted, stunned from the follow-up jet propulsion, gets the knockback. That's what he was looking for. Now a tether pulls back away too. Aethero taking some damage from Fan. The jump in from Yrel as he's bringing Aethero down. Now the chase continues onto Bad Binny. But Tempo Storm got what they wanted, and both teams used their turrets there.
That's huge. Tempo come up massive on that first support camp, but in Benny, he's flipped up, he got interrupted, Benny goes down. Tempo Storm playing fantastic during the early game.
When we talked to all of the teams, Method said that the hardest day for them was going to be this first day. They were coming in, they hadn't boot camped here, so they didn't really know the North American meta. They said if they could get through day 1, win this first match, they saw themselves in top 3 pretty easily. But this is the point that they're scared of, and now losing out on that heal pulse, losing out, not getting their assault camp here. They tried to make a cheeky play, it didn't work out for them, and now they're losing 50% and continuing to climb on that control point.
And the fortification camps and the support camps provide so much experience.
Yes.
I believe at that point around 600 experience mark, and we're seeing that translate into the experience bars. Yes, that's also a kill for Tempo Storm, but most of it is the fact that Tempo got that camp. And of course, the item, a consolation prize, Cattle, having that one for the additional sustain on this first objective.
Good point. And Tempo Storm, knowing that they had that experience lead, just moved back till they got 7. Now they're getting back in here, and with a turret. They haven't used the heal pulse yet because Method have given up. Root hit, fall to the Warden's Force, but Fan gets out alive. Now sends out the Spirit if he wants to try to pull back Bad Benny, at least for the harassment. Method hanging in here despite not having that 7. They're still unwilling to just give away this protector so quickly to Tempo Storm.
Method, they can't do anything except for just try to hold this point. Bad Benny, again, he's in a lot of trouble. Huge feather by Fan, picking up another kill onto Bad Benny. Big plays by Tempo Storm. Method didn't even have a level 7. They couldn't have even backed up and got their fortification camp either. Tempo Storm are commanding on this game number 3.
He knew Benny was going to have to dwarf toss out and just pulled him right back into the action. Heading up, taking out the assault camp, while the real assault now begins on Volskaya Foundry with a 1-level lead. Tempo Storm's looking to widen that with this protector.
First wall going down here for Tempo Storm. They've got a level lead here, folks, rotating into the top side. We all know the deal on this map. Mid and top is usually the focus, but if you're able to conclude a fort, your experience skyrockets because we know the reallocation of structural XP at this point. And Tempo Storm, they want this fort. They don't care about top side, even though the next objective's up there. They really want to get that experience.
Well, that lane was pushed out by the assault camp, and they know that some people were going up to defend after they feigned that rotation. Now they step back in. They have the minion or support behind them, and they have the laser back up. It takes out the well. It takes out the fort. Fan gets a stun. Does he have vault? May not even be able to get into it with the lockdown there. Didn't matter. Method do get the kill on Fan that brings them up slightly in experience, and it will stave off any more aggression from Tempo Storm.
Yeah. Biggest part about that is the fact that they gained some momentum here.
Yeah.
It means they're allowed to take the support camp with relative ease. You know, Tempo Storm, they do not have the Maiev, so they're not, you know, Garrosh stepping in here at Caterpillar, but he's not going to do anything further. So this is actually quite a bit of experience. They got it off the kill, plus the additional experience from that camp. No, it's not enough to kind of close this gap with Tempo Storm, considering the fact that they're just about level 10 here, but still, that was at least something that Method got off that kill.
Yeah, they know that they just are playing the catch-up game. They want to make sure they get heroic abilities and that they are in a position where they can contest this next control point too. Soon they'll have heroic abilities, which, of course, when you have something like Earthquake, Stay a While, and Listen, just gives you way more of a control over team fights themselves. Heroic abilities, though, for Tempo Storm and Sacred Ground over Ardent Defender. What do you think?
Lots of control on the point. That's really all they want. They also have Tranquility on the backside there. Method's draft has to fight into tempo.
Yeah.
You have to fight into tempo. Why not just control the point? I think that's a fantastic adaptation here.
As a Sacred Ground,
Cattle.
we'll see how the cages can be used too. Cattle gets rooted from the tip of that Scroll of Sealing, and he's going to bail out Fan. Do see the Warden's Cage being used there, so that is a longer cooldown to be used and not get too much off of the heroic abilities of Tempo. They were hoping to force something with heroics, but it just didn't work out. Method were back in time.
That was interesting because Tempo had level 10. They had a 5v4 top lane, and they lost the engagement. No, they didn't lose like any heroes or anything like that, but Blaze was represented bot on the wave that entire time. Tempo knew that was a number and talent advantage, so it's interesting that they weren't able to really get much more off of that, but here comes the Dragon Arrow, but just hitting Bad Benny. So really nice control in that bush there to stop that arrow from hitting ADRD.
Yeah, you stand in that bush in case someone rotates in. You get the Storm Bolt, you get the Thunderclap, you're slowing down so your team can retreat. Bonus, if it also wears the Dragon's Arrow so that it doesn't end up giving time for Tempo Storm to get into position to maybe get a kill, as Method were starting to push out that top lane. Method have caught up quite a bit. They are about half a level behind still, but they're working on getting back up in time so that they still will be able to contest over this control point that will be happening soon in the top lane.
It's going to be the next big moment here in this game. 25 seconds left onto that cage and the Dragon's Arrow. So Tempo Storm probably not going to try to find any crazy fights, but ADRD is caught out in this mid lane, gets rooted up, taunted, and goes down.
Blaze, he's not out of it either now too. Look at these body blocks, very good as he's using Pyromania, thrown right back into a stun. Athero, there's no bunker, there's nothing. Kirsten used the Stay a While and Listen, but the control over Athero from Tempo Storm was phenomenal, giving them 2 kills, and now suddenly where Method were catching up, Tempo Storm says, not not today.
That was very ambitious of ADRD, stepping up way too far on the map when Tempo Storm wasn't even represented in any lanes. When they're all missing like that, yes, it's not really the time for Tempo Storm to try to find a pick, but when it's that free, of course you're going to try to take it. Tempo Storm, huge kills, huge momentum, level 13 here against this European powerhouse.
Well, Method, with the way they're posturing, may just simply choose to engage without that 13, but Tempo not only getting the kills, but even taking down and having that front wall open down too. Up in the top, there is no well that Method can use if things go south, just a fort to retreat behind. If that is to happen, now Tempo Storm also gets the support camp, everything coming up aces for Tempo right now.
And it's kind of worst case Ontario because you're playing against all of these items and this zone control of Tempo Storm. But Bad Benny getting flipped in, able to dwarf toss to safety. Glaurung also taking a little bit of damage, but just sitting in that 40 armor, completely fine.
He is living for the moment in the sacred ground. Jet propulsion in, there is no Ardent Defender this time. He's thrown back into the fray. And Warden's Cage from the back, Fan getting some Fan of Knives resets. It isn't enough to stay alive. Maev falls as the first in this fight.
Absolutely huge. Bad Benny stepping in more. June is the target. He doesn't have any way of getting out of this one. Bad Benny is taunted up, but that is 2 kills for Method. They weren't even at level 13 at that point.
More than willing to take that fight without that talent here. It's not the end-all, be-all in most scenarios. There would have been, you know, the movement speed for June if he is that far up and Method can sneak around the sides of the fight. They have proven throughout this series how fast they can bring somebody down there. Method continuing the channel, I think a big point on that too was that even though Sacred Ground was down behind this, Method had control of this control point too, so that not only did they win this fight, but they had the control point so they can continue the channel here, and I don't think there's going to be time to contest for Tempo.
No, this is kind of like a scissor play here. We see Athero getting the stun up onto Glaurung, but that was basically the start of the fight, and it snowballed into Method finding all of their kills. You know, as you mentioned, June not having an ice block. Teldrassil burns, and so does Malfurion at this point playing against this Blaze.
Man, too soon.
Sorry.
Too soon.
Sorry.
There's the Protector for Method to start working in this top lane, which the rest also were doing too to take out the fort here. And Method, yet again, catches up. You know, I've heard Kaldor and Trixler commentate Method quite a lot, and they call them the cockroaches. They just do not die in a game. They always find a way to get back in a game. We'll see if Tempo Storm can do the same after losing this Punisher, or this Protector.
Smart play by Method, finding their way back into this game because they were at a massive deficit. And we have to reiterate the fact that they found success when they had all the variables stacked against them. Less items, not the talent tier fight that they were looking for. And the fact that they found victory there means that they are a top tier team. Method pushing in, looking for bottom side focus. As we know, next objective will be spawning bottom side. So Method want to try to pick up this wall, perhaps the fort, if they possibly can.
Glaurung was trying to channel his inner Gandalf, and the Protector charged forward, and he was like, yeah, okay, you can pass if you want. Cattle takes some damage too, and the zoning from Method gives them another fort here. The structural lead now coming in for Method, but importantly, experience-wise, they have well and truly caught up to Tempo Storm, and it's going to be a long road until the next control point, so we'll see what the teams can do in that time.
Biggest thing right now, Method, they're just looking to pick up some items. We see them represented on their fortification camp, picking up another turret for themselves. Likely will try to time perhaps their siege camp for the objective because that's on the polar opposite side of the map, but they're flirting with the idea of going for it. I see Raynor and Thrall kind of represented all over there, but giving up this support camp is something that Method should not do considering the fact that they are level 16 at this point.
Glaurung uses Sacred Ground in front, gets the knockback too. And between that and a Wrecking Ball, it's hard to get on the point. That Dragon's Arrow, though, the cage!
Coming through, there's the taunt up onto ADRD as well, but the bunker is so fantastic. Method are in a lot of trouble, but Fan is also under fire. 1-for-1 trade up here. Nick on the backside just chunking people with this Raynor, but Athero is in so much trouble. Cattle playing out of his mind. 2-for-1 for Tempo Storm.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why item control is important on Volskaya Foundry. The turret went down so that even in the retreat path, Method were taking damage from it, and the heal pulse kept Tempo Storm alive despite losing Fan. The cage was still beautiful. Tempo Storm walk away with the win in the fight. They get another fort down, and they have gained back some momentum. This third game, Kala, is like a roller coaster back and forth, up and down. It's Method, then it's Tempo, just back and forth.
The ebb and flow of competition here in this game number 3 is fantastic to watch. I don't know, watching these two teams play against each other is some of the best Heroes of the Storm I've ever got to cast, so this is absolutely amazing. I hope everybody at home is also having a great time. Level 16 to 17 here, Tempo Storm with a bit of an experience advantage, but none of that really matters at this point because they're on the same talent tier. These teams can take fights against each other basically at any point until the level 20 point hits. Item control, basically one on the side of Glaurung for the turret. We got one for Kirsten as well, so this is an incredibly even game.
The thing that's been interesting to me is a lot of times Tempo Storm has been splitting away Fan instead of Glaurung, but it makes me wonder with that Sacred Ground pick if it's just the idea of having him stand strong in front alongside Cattle, and then the control that the two of them gives a lot of time for the lockdown and the damage of Vin to come in on that Hanzo. But Fan's always there too. He's responding appropriately with his rotation so that he can catch up. For Method now though, being behind this level, they still have time. They have time, they have the turret so that they can try to get the engagement over this next control point, which worked out very well for them last time.
I really love that you picked that up about Fan, because, you know, with this roster swap with Vin, that was kind of Fan's job. He was the soaking player. So the fact that maybe that's just kind of ingrained into him, right? Just jump into the off lane, pick up that soak. But at the same time, we saw a Snitch doing very similar things on Tomb the Spider Queen. So maybe it's just the role of this hero at this point. But Tempo Storm, they invade Siege Camp. They're looking for this deep wall.
Push top. Thrall's going to channel down in the bottom and taunt, control over Bad Benny, but it makes it into the Avatar. The bunker behind that too. KGU's Ethereal thrown back. No bunker. Is it no hope beyond that? Stay a while and listen buys valuable time for Ethereal to make it out, but not if Cattle can get that stun and the throw. And despite the stay a while and listen, Tempo get their kill.
Cattle is playing so very well. 42, like we've seen him control these fights super well on this Garrosh. We've also seen fantastic into the Phrase. So he's just playing incredibly. I love watching him on this Garrosh. At the same time, Method, they got 64% onto this bottom side Protector. And they have 25-second spawning time on this Blaze. So Tempo Storm are not going to be able to pick up this objective for free.
It was an interesting choice of Tempo to try to push that top. They did get some structural damage done. They did get a kill, which gets them closer to 20, but they're not quite there yet. Method's still waiting on getting Blaze back. And Tempo started to make the rotation down, did finally get Urel on that point now too, but also getting their assault camp, getting the support camp, gets them closer and closer to that 20. Method have Blaze back. It's just a question of whether or not they can get down here in time before that 20 hits.
And Tempo don't have a lot of time at this point, so Method are going to be able to step up, and Tempo are forced to either concede or take a fight before they hit level 20. Yes, they have this camp pushing in top lane, and the wall is down, but Tempo Storm are put in a little bit of a situation right now. They really wanted to get a bit more experience off of that kill. They chose to take a camp. I think it might have been wiser to take mid wall.
And all because ADRD came to this bottom and took that shrine because so much of Tempo showed in the top lane. And that is a bigger issue because of the percentage point. Method starting to channel again. Tempo now have 20, but it's 93. Continue to go in. We're going to send it to overtime.
Glau with the stall there. Fantastic job. Fan is on his way down. We have to watch this Maya for the engages.
Avatar used early in case of the taunt, which was there on the front line. Benny, these conveyor belts wrecking him, but he does jump out, avoids the Dragon's Arrow, and gets into the bunker.
Forced to jump away here, has the armor, but Bad Benny again is the point of contact here, taking so much damage, manages to dwarf toss to safety, but look at the two turrets of Method doing so much damage. He's in a lot of trouble, gets rooted up, Urel goes down.
He had such good management with the Sacred Ground with that level 20 movement of it, but the problem was that it got put on the conveyor belt that sent him away from the Warden's Cage. Fan drops it anyway without having Urel, and now he falls too. Method getting 2 kills when they don't have 20 is huge. Now Vin is in danger. Jet Propulsion brings him down.
That is 3 kills for Method, even though they weren't even level 20 here, folks. This is the second time this game that they have taken control over Tempo Storm when they are at disadvantageous situations. Protector going over to Method. Bottom side is the focus. 40-second death timers onto both Hanzo and Maiev. Method are looking for game number 3.
Well, this is going to give them the 20 needed for that. They move on around the towers. Only Garrosh and Malfurion here to defend, and Tempo Storm trying to use that 20 to fight, but Method standing tall now with a full health Triglav Protector move on to the core.
Method played absolutely fantastically. Cattle with the multi-taunt, but it is not going to be enough. Nick just shooting away. Meanwhile, Method just focusing all their damage onto this core, and Tempo Storm will end up going down 2-1 here. Last game on Volskaya. GG.
You've got to hand it to Method multiple times, taking fights when I don't know if you would expect to see fights there. In 13, you could definitely say yes. 20, that is always so scary, but it's Volskaya Foundry. That third control point often spells the end of the game, and they didn't want to give that up. The Sacred Ground, getting Glowering off of that was big. Tempo Storm maybe overextending after that, trying to go in for the fight, but they too know how important that bottom control point is.
I completely agree with you. Same time, Method, I thought that they played those team fights absolutely amazingly.
Yes.
They really did. I want to see them control the games better. I want to see them control the early game. Let's get some better rotations from Method, because that's multiple times now where they were at a disadvantage when it comes to experience, and they had to claw their way back into the game under circumstances that they shouldn't have been able to find it in if Tempo Storm played a little bit differently. If Method can clean that up, they look insane.
What's awesome, too, for Method is that their adaptation of drafting, we know that that was a concern for them coming in day one, seeing what the NA, or even the NAEU pseudo method or meta that was made together with the EU teams that came over to boot camp. How was that going to look? Was it going to be something that they were not prepared for? And in coming in and showing that they have adapted to having ADRD playing some of these different heroes, playing more aggressive heroes, Zeratul and Thrall is really fun to see for this team, and I look forward to seeing the evolution of that throughout the next couple of days.
Yeah, myself as well. Usually we'd see him on more of the ADRD heroes, but yeah, the fact that we got to see him on Zeratul, I thought that was fantastic. I think that he could use some work on picks like that, but that's perfectly fine. You know, when you're not used to getting those picks all the time, that's totally acceptable. But the way that they play as a team is what is most exemplary. Like, they're just such a great team to watch.
And a lot of that comes down to the front line and Bad Benny. So let's check in with him and the analyst desk after their win.
That is right. You had an impressive win there in game number 3, Bad Benny. Welcome up here to the stage. I gotta ask you, man, because you were missing a little bit of confidence coming into this matchup because we're talking about not fully being there for the meta. How are you feeling after that close best of 3?
So game 1 went really well, and we felt really good after that. But after throwing game 2, like, they played really well, but we could have won that for sure. And then kind of the disaster starting of game 3, we weren't feeling that well. But the meta game, like the Thrall and stuff, is stuff we haven't practiced that much because we didn't know it was going to be that prominent here. But they played it a lot, like the triple me stuff. And we kind of picked it up in the last game, and it worked out, luckily.
Delivered the victory. Now, we're going to send you over to Calidori. He wants to go over a replay with you.
Exactly. We have the last fight. You guys were forced into a fight on level 20, and you in particular were a target of Cattle, like, from the start. So this is just where all of it's set up, and Cattle is throwing you in the moment. And just walk us through that situation a little bit.
So since we don't have Twilight Dream, I wasn't that scared of getting one shot, but I didn't want to take too much damage for free. So that's why we got the bunker out, and I jumped out. So we tried to reset a bit. I heal up, and we kind of wait for the opportunity, because we know we have a strong draft with like the triple melee. They have it too, but we have better sustain, and if the fight gets drawn out like this and they make one fuck up, like Glaurung jumped in a bit too deep, then we know we can win it.
How worried were you guys about the level 20 advantage that they had? Were you just from the get-go saying, guys, we have to take this one or we're going to lose the game here?
Yeah, it was pretty much like that. Like, either we try to defend it and we lose keep, if not game, and try to get 20, or we take the fight, which we felt we could win it even though we were at talented disadvantage because of the draft. You
even jumped the Hanzo arrow there. If that would have connected with you, you would have probably fallen. So that was super close, but it was actually really impressive how you guys coordinated through the fight there. So kudos.
Thank you.
Going into that series, you said that you weren't as scared of Tempo Storm because Psalm isn't on the roster anymore. Do you think that they performed at or above your expectations going into this tournament?
I think they performed above my expectations, actually. The reason I said that was because they had played so long together with that existing roster, so it wasn't anything against like Win or anyone. It's just that they didn't have as much time together, basically. And I think they performed above my expectations, for sure.
Are you the scariest Muradin in this tournament?
We'll see.
Always so humble. Congratulations on your victory, Bad Benny. We're going to go ahead and head to a commercial break, but we got more action coming your way with the Western Clash.
Thank you.
Vin is getting caught up a little bit. Here comes the clone.
Oh, double Urel is double the trouble. These can leap all over the place. 7th Second Strike was used, but now turning the attention to Cattle, knocking him back again with the clone. The double hammer squad, triple hammer squad. He's just going to use Lightning Breath. He knows he's like to go down here. And with Earthquake, we'll see if they can get some trading out kills. They do get Stukov. Was the target from Method. He's not out of it yet, though. That was a great route from Curson, and Ethereal's diving in.
Glaurung is taking so much damage, but there's the bunker to stop the advance of the team fight. Meanwhile, Method back up. They're trying to get Glaurung. They end up getting this kill. June jumping in, but he does not have that Divine Palm.
Tempo Storm. June considering if he can get this great setup from Method. Oh my goodness, and yet Fan is still living for the moment.
June keeping Fan alive for quite a while, but not enough to keep him alive through all of that. There's the Ardent Defender that you just talked about. Glaurung, meanwhile, caught out on the top right side of this map, gets silenced up and Blaze goes down. That is a 2-for-0 for Method.
Do that single alter phase and claim it, and it's those re-engages from Method. And they're hoping for another.
Yeah, he's getting hit by that curse bullet, but he's got the HP to be able to walk away from this one, but that doesn't even matter. Method don't even care about the kill. All they want to do was push in the Sapper camps. Cattle just using wrestling moves on this Sapper and actually stops it from moving in.
A lot of their engage Apocalypse and stay a while and listen.
Over the single point of contest here on the bottom side, Ultra spawning in 15 seconds. And yeah, without those tools, that's huge. There's the route up on the counter. The counter engage is huge. Down goes Zeratul, down goes Greymane.
Oh, and Vin just swept through the team of Method, getting a third. Jet Propulsion hits a fourth. Only Ethereal, only Bad Benny, the tanky frontline remaining.
Method positions and controls vision is so fantastic. Look where Benny is. I swear, there's never an NA. Cloud gets interrupted and instantly blown up. This is so devastating. So they are starting right away. Curse bullet up in 8 seconds. Method are pushing in. They're looking for a fight. Rooted up now. Blaze is in a lot of trouble. Blaze goes down.
Blaze dead. Swift strike through. Flailing swipe throws him back now. Stay a while. Listen was used too. Ethereal separated from this. Method have abandoned the boss. They are just looking to wipe Tempo Storm. But 2 kills for Tempo. It's a 2-for-2 trade. Cannot give this up. They have to keep fighting. But Vin brings down 80 RD, and that should be it. One channel hit. But it's just Benny and Nick left. Benny goes down. Tempo Storm will get this channel.
And the Dragons are so Tempo Storm probably not going to try to find any crazy fights, but ADRD is caught out in this mid lane, gets rooted up, taunted, and goes down.
Blaze, he's not out of it either now too. Look at these body blocks, very good as he's using Pyromania, thrown right back into a stun. Ethereal, there's no bunker, there's nothing. Curson used the stay a while and listen, but the control over Ethereal from Tempo Storm was phenomenal. Living for the moment in the sacred ground. Jet Propulsion in, there is no Ardent Defender this time. He's thrown back within into the fray. And Warden's Cage from the back. Fan getting some Fan of Knives resets. It isn't enough to stay alive. Maev falls as the first in this fight.
Absolutely huge. Bad Benny stepping in more. June is the target. He doesn't have any way of getting out of this one. Bad Benny is taunted up, but that is 2 kills for Method.
And between that and a Wrecking Ball, it's hard
huge.
To get on the point. That Dragon Zero though, the cage.
Coming through, there's the taunt up onto ADRD as well, but the bunker is so fantastic. Method are in a lot of trouble, but Fan is also under fire. 1-for-1 trade up here. Nick on the backside just chunking people with this Rainer, but Athero is in so much trouble. Cattle playing out of his mind. Forced to jump away here. Has the armor, but Bad Benny again is the point of contact here, taking so much damage. Manages to dwarf toss to safety, but look at the 2 turrets of Method doing so much damage. He's in a lot of trouble. Gets rooted up. Urel goes down.
He had such good management with the Sacred Ground with that level 20 movement of it, but the problem was that it got put on the conveyor belt that sent him away with the Warden's Cage. Fan drops it anyway without having Urel, and now he falls to Method.